everyone. Welcome to Breakthrough Conversations. My name is Danielle Perry and I am the host. You already know that I am so excited that you are tuned in for another episode of this podcast. And if this is your first time, this is a Christian podcast which features people of all ages, and they share a bit of their story about how God has helped them to overcome a difficult challenge, situation, or season in their lives, or maybe they're on their way to overcoming with God's help. And they do share authentically. Well, if you are back, then you already know that this is the third episode in the marriage series, and it features dear friends of mine who have actually been on the podcast before sharing their individual stories, but they are none other than Kwesi and Nicole Payne, and the title of this episode is The Importance of Communication in Marriage. Yes, if you are married, then you know that communication is a must. Thank you again, Kwesi and Nick, for being on this podcast once more. I know that the wisdom that you've shared and even the funny stories that you've shared will truly be a blessing to married couples who watch. And so if you know me, you know that Kwesi and Nick are close friends of mine. I have known them now, since I was about maybe 18, maybe even 17. When I first began attending Living Waters, they were one of the first couples who truly embraced me and welcomed me with open arms. And so when I look back then, I'm just amazed at how much our friendship has grown over the years. And another thing is that when I began to date my husband, we chose them as our accountability couple because we admired their marriage. So it's just so cool again to just look back and see, wow, we chose them as our accountability couple to help prepare us and give us that wisdom that we needed, in order to take this big step and do it well. And now my husband and I have been married for 10 years, and the nuggets of wisdom that they gave us still stick to this day. We're still able to look back and remember some of the things that they told us because it was what we needed. So again, thank y'all so much for how you've poured into us over the years and how you even still pour into us to this day. So y'all, without further ado, here it is. This is part 1 of episode 30. I want you to enjoy and be blessed. And they are none other than the Paynes. Hi.
Hey, girl. Hey,
Nicole and Kwesi Payne. I'm excited about this episode. And first, I want you, for those who don't know who you guys are, just introduce yourselves individually. Just tell a little bit about who you are.
Okay.
Go for it. You go first.
All right. Well, she said my name. My name is Nicole Payne. I am a wife, a momtrepreneur. I love God and I love my family. A momtrepreneur.
What's that?
A mom who's an entrepreneur.
Oh, okay.
I love God and I love my family.
Extra.
That's me, y'all.
Wait, when? Did you come up with that? A mom, what? Mom?
I'm sure it's out there.
Momtrepreneur?
It's out there.
I've heard it before.
Yep.
That's new.
Mm-hmm.
It's fancy. All right.
Try to keep it short and sweet.
Oh, that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I'm a momtrepreneur.
Yep.
All right. Do your thing, momtrepreneur.
Yes, sir.
I'm Kwesi Payne.
Mm-hmm.
Husband, dad, treneur. No, just a dad.
You could be a dadpreneur.
Be just a dad. Yeah, that's it.
That's it?
Respect.
Okay. All right. Well, again, I have you guys on today just to answer some questions that I had for you regarding marriage and regarding breakthrough. And we're going to start out with just letting our audience know, how and when did you guys meet?
Okay. You want to go first or I?
You go first.
Okay. Well, it kind of depends on what you mean by how we meet, how we
Okay.
met, because we met at Morgan State. We both graduated from Morgan State.
Mm-hmm.
Nicole graduated 2 years older, 2 years before I did.
Mm-hmm.
We met my freshman year,
Mm-hmm.
which was Nicole's junior year, right? Sophomore year? I don't know. One of them years.
I guess if
No,
I
junior
graduated
year.
2 years.
Junior
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
So it was right after a volleyball tournament.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I had too in my answer.
That's what you had in the answer?
Yeah.
That's what happened. Good job. But yeah, so we met then and we were friends. Well, we became friends, over that 2 year span before Nicole graduated. So, yeah.
Okay. All right. That was your answer too?
Yeah.
Okay. You didn't want to add your
No.
side of things?
No.
Okay. Cool stuff. So how long, or let me say this. So I asked the question of how and when did you meet. At what point did you guys become a couple?
Yes. Okay. So we started. Okay. So what year was that? That was 2000. Oh wow! And then we became a couple. Okay, so we became a couple in April of 2004.
Okay, April of 2004.
Yes.
So how did that begin? What was the, Quasi asked you out?
It was
Just
the
talk about
Lord.
that.
It was the Lord
Okay.
removing the scales from her eyes. You know how sometimes things be right in front of you and you just don't see it?
Uh-huh.
And then the Lord just...
So you were there the whole time
It was
and
the
she
Lord.
just couldn't see.
It was the Lord.
Okay. So
but I had graduated in 2002. I had moved away to Virginia.
Okay.
And then I came back in 2004
Okay.
for grad school.
Uh-huh.
No, you came back in 2003 for grad school.
Well, I came back. I moved away and came back.
I came back.
See the Lord.
I came back, and yeah, and we didn't even keep in touch when I was gone
Okay.
at all.
No, not at all.
Yeah,
So when you came back, I mean, what, you guys met somewhere? Like, what led up to
church.
the relationship?
Because Quasi and I, we were at the same church,
Yeah, just...
and so when I came back to church, and we were still friends again, but I was dating somebody else, and when that fell through for the last time, then Quasi and I ended up he ended up riding with me one night after a church function, after a singles function.
This is where I
He
wanted y'all to
ended
get
up
to.
riding with me far, far away. I was
The Farquhar.
I was left taking this young lady home, whom I did not know lived so far away. And our pastor was like, "Well, who's gonna ride with her?" Because it was late, and it became a ghost town. Everybody dipped, and then Quasi volunteered to ride with me. Right? Did you volunteer or were you asked?
No, I think I ended up volunteering.
Okay,
But the part she's leaving out is, like she said, like Nicole said, all this time I was of the impression she was involved with this guy that she's been involved with since I met her. Like when I was introduced to Nicole in 2000, I was told, oh yeah, that's his girlfriend. And that person was always around.
Right.
So I'm thinking they're always an item.
Yep.
You know? So fast forward to when Nicole graduates and moves. I didn't even know where she went. I just know that she wasn't around for from graduation of 2002 until like the beginning of the school year, the 2003-2004 school year, right? And so when she shows back up, the first time I saw her, we were still at church. So I was like, oh, wow, my buddy's back, you know, because she was my friend. We used to hang out, just laugh at silly stuff.
Right.
Like the first time we met, two things I remember. The first thing she did was invite me to church. And then the next thing we did was we went to eat at the school cafeteria and one of her friends fell out the chair. And we didn't, like, that was the thing the whole time. So, you know, I was like, oh, somebody I can laugh with, you know, goof off, whatever. And so I was like, oh, my buddy's back, you know? But again, the guy that I thought she was involved in a relationship with was there too and acted like, oh, all right. You know, like real regular. And I was like, that's pretty whack. But then I'm thinking to myself, well, maybe they see each other every whatever, you know? So I'm thinking, but still I'm thinking that's a whack response when your girlfriend or whoever walks into a room.
Right.
It's kind of like, imagine being involved with your husband and he walks into the room and you, like, not even a whole hum. It's kind of like, and keep doing what you're doing. So I was like, well, whatever.
Right.
So when we go to this event that the church hosted, you know, I lived on campus, but the event was off campus, so I got a ride with Nicole. This young lady that was coming to the church too also got a ride, and there were 2 other guys. So we all
that car
piled
was
in.
packed. That little sports car was
we
packed.
piled in this little itty bitty car, you know. And so when the event was finished and people started leaving, and they were like, well, how are you getting home? Because, again, I thought this young lady lived on campus, too.
Okay.
We were like, where you live? She was like, Columbia.
Oh,
Bruh.
dang.
From Towson.
From Towson. That's
Important
That's a
information to shed.
right.
Before it gets late.
You still mad?
Carry on.
you still mad? So, you know, but then when we were like, well, who brought you? She was like, well, I rode with Nicole. So now they were like, well, Nicole, you got to take her home. And I'm thinking to myself, well, nobody knew where she lived. Whatever. So then, you know, it's night. It's 2 young ladies. We're like, okay, well, who's the guy that's going to ride with her?
Right.
The guy that I was of the impression she was in a relationship with was there until that question got asked. And then you look at, like, all you hear is footsteps going down the steps, like.
You don't know if they was traveling that fast.
Was they there?
Yeah.
Was they
That
not?
just
After
seemed like
the
siphoning
question.
it a little bit. But go ahead.
But yeah, so next thing we know, it's just, well, I had my ride secured to get back to campus because from where the event was, Nicole lived 3 minutes down the street.
Right. Oh, child.
So her travel home went from 3 minutes to Columbia and back.
Right.
So I was like, all right, well, I guess I'll ride with you to make sure, you know.
Okay. So you rode with her, and from there, that's when something sparked between you 2.
After we dropped homegirl off, we had 30 minutes to talk on the ride back.
Right.
About what, though?
Yeah, and so I think we just started talking about kind of catching up, right? And talking about, I guess maybe what brought me back and what had been going on in either of our lives.
Blah, blah, blah.
And then we started talking about relationships and how I know I shared that did I share that the guy and I were on the having trouble and we were not really. I definitely know I said the next relationship I get in, so maybe we weren't even together anymore. But the next relationship I get in, I wanted to end in marriage, and I don't want to waste time anymore.
Right.
And then what did you say? Were you in the same mind?
Nick is not really good with remembering all the details.
Yeah.
Which is cool, you know.
That's why y'all together.
Yeah, that's, you know. So basically on the ride back, the question kind of like, we were just, you know, random talk. Like, well, okay, so long time seeing you, where you been? Oh, I was in Virginia, blah, 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 you know. But that conversation can only go for about one exit.
Right.
So then somewhere along, Nicole just, in typical Nicole fashion, just was like, you in a relationship? And I was kind of like, but again, we had that type of rapport where it was kind of like, it was almost like a sister friend asking. So it was like, not really, you know, I said first, I just got out of a relationship. And honestly, the next relationship I'm looking for, I wanted to end in marriage because Nicole had set me up on one of her teammates. We're not going to talk about that, right? Unless you all want to. But literally, so then when she asked that question, I gave my answer and I said, well, what about you? Because again, I'm still of the impression that she's involved with this guy, but now I'm really confused because old boy just dipped.
Right.
And like the week before, however long before, he acted like she didn't just walk into the room.
Right.
You know, it was one of them, ho-hum, oh hey, and went back to tying his shoes or whatever he was doing type deal.
Right.
And they didn't like really communicate. And this was her first time back. So I was like, so in my head, I'm like, well, I don't know what's going on. Where are you with relationships type thing? And so from there, we started talking.
You started talking. Okay.
Yeah.
So again, that was the initial spark. And then at some point, How soon after that conversation did you guys decide to enter into a relationship?
Oh, okay. So that was like in the fall of 2003. You know, and we acknowledged that, okay, there is something here, but with both of us coming out of a relationship, we were like, all right, well, let's just kind of dial back. Let's, you know, let's not rush into anything. Coupled with, we were like, the third person, or there was a third person involved that also went to the church, so we saw him like almost on a daily.
Okay.
You know, so it became like, okay, well,
And this was my boyfriend, ex, right?
yes.
I don't know if, I just wanted to clarify because up to this point, we hadn't said he went to the same church. So I just wanted to clarify for the listeners.
Well, that's nice of you.
Yeah, it provides an interesting
Listeners, you're welcome.
twist.
Yeah, so, you know, it was one of those things. And so, you know, we just kind of like hanging out, but still talking, getting closer, hanging out, talking, getting closer. And one day, I think I went to play basketball. Yeah, I think I went to play basketball with our pastor, and we just talking. And I told him, man, I was like, you know, there's a young lady I'm interested in at the church, and I said, you know, I'm interested in seeing Nicole. So obviously, as a pastor, he's aware that, well, all of us, the three of us, her ex-boyfriend included, at that point in time, were in leadership at the church.
Okay.
So, you know, you definitely don't want to like leave a mess where now the pastor doesn't even know what's going on, but there's a mess.
Right.
So I told him, and he was like, well, the first thing I would do is I would go to him, go to the guy and say, listen, this is where I'm at. And if he says anything along the lines of, that's my girlfriend, you know, we working things out, whatever, step back.
Good wisdom.
You know? So I was like, okay, I respect that.
Right.
Because again, I don't want to have any kind of thing between us that impacts the church, the people coming, the leadership, anybody involved.
Right.
He said, but if he doesn't say something specifically like that, I would advise you move on how you feel. What he didn't tell me, because we had finished playing ball and we were late. We were supposed to be back home because we were actually going to a stage play. What he didn't tell me at that point in time, or what I didn't know, is that Nicole was invited to go to the same stage play.
Okay.
So when I said that, he kind of knew. Well, obviously, he knew she was coming as well. So, you know, that's where that was. And so all along, we were still just trying to,
That was some boss wisdom. Like, that was some really good wisdom.
you know, so we were intentional about
Direct.
remaining friends, but understanding that the intention of remaining friends is to grow
Yep.
to something else, which you guys
I was
coined.
just about to say that. We coined fopping.
Hey, man, y'all. Come on.
What is
Poppers.
fopping?
Friends on purpose.
That's right. Friends on
Ing.
purpose.
Go ahead.
That's right.
Friends on purpose,
For those of you who
or
don't
friending
know,
on purpose.
Yeah.
the Paynes were our accountability couple prior to getting married. And so learning from their journey, we coined the fopping phrase or word.
Man, y'all.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah.
So my next question for you guys is, how long did you date before getting married?
2 years.
2 years?
Yes.
Okay.
We started courting April 18th in a few days. April 18th of 2004. And, well, you said getting married?
Yeah. How long did you date before getting married?
Yeah.
2 years.
2 years.
Okay. 2 years.
I'm
2
not the
years,
math
Quincy.
mind in the relationship, so I needed a little bit.
So we
pause.
started, we made it we made the decision to date. You know, church people say fellowship. We started dating in April 18th, 2004. We got married 2006. July of 2006.
July of 2006.
Yeah.
All right. So which means that officially you've been married for...
Whole long time.
What is going on?
It's been 17 years.
Wow. Wow.
This July, 17 of them.
Wow.
Wow.
That's amazing. And a blessing.
A whole almost adult child,
Right.
which
Pretty
we don't
much.
have.
Right.
Can you imagine that? If you got pregnant your first year?
Right.
Your
would have a
child would be on the way to
17-year-old
college right now.
almost. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
Wow.
So I want you to...
that would be dope. I would enjoy it.
Right.
You know, if boy would probably be on the court all the time,
Of course.
talking a whole bunch of
course.
noise. If he was into
If he-
basketball,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
it would be crazy.
So, kind of rewinding back a little bit, I want you to talk about your proposal. What was that like?
It was comedic.
I don't think I
And,
remember this.
So we were, Pierce proposed to me Christmas of 2004.
Okay.
And we were in New York at his Aunt Bev's apartment. Okay. His sister was here from Trinidad as well.
Okay.
And I woke up Christmas morning. Kwesi and Aunt Bev were already awake.
Okay.
And they were in the kitchen. So I'm just walking down the hallway, just looking for life, looking for where
Right.
people are and what they're doing. So but I'm not making a lot of noise. So I quietly walk into the kitchen, and Kwesi has the ring box with it open, showing Aunt Bev the ring. And so I was like, trying to act like I But they saw me. They looked up and saw me.
Okay.
But Kwesi's so cool. And this is one facet in which he balances me very well. He is very even keel. So even something like that, like, oh, the surprise is ruined.
Right.
He just calmly closed the box and put it in his pocket or put it wherever. And like, they just kept going.
They just kept going.
Regular conversation.
Yeah. So somebody like me would have been like, oh, you know. So so that was that, and then the weird part was like I had to act like I ain't see it, and you know, and then I think we ate breakfast or something, and then afterward we're opening gifts. I'm thinking,
Right.
and then you know, Kwesi starts the whole proposal thing, and so Bev's beaming, she's excited. Kanika's there, his sister, she's excited, and I guess Kwesi starts to speak or whatever, and then Aunt Bev was like, "Get down on your knee, get down on your knee." And
Her
so
Trinidadian
right, and that was a
accent.
horrible. I'm sorry, Aunt Bev, that was a horrible attempt by me. But I just remember the excitement and the energy. She was very excited.
Yeah.
And so Kwesi gets down on one knee, and so he's down on his knee, and then Aunt Bev's like, "Kanika, go get the camera." So he's down on his knee, waiting now for the camera. Kanika gets up, she tries to run and bust that corner. She had on socks, and the floor was hardwood, so she slipped, fell.
Oh my God.
So we're like, Lord, what is happening? I'm cracking up. Everybody's cracking up. Aunt Bev's probably just like, girl, get up, come on. You know, I don't. It
Right.
all
It
right
was
so far.
funny.
I'm right.
So far, like, so I'm on one knee holding her hand like this. My sister's around the corner, and all you hear is, oh.
Right on the floor.
She's on the floor.
Right.
My aunt is like, hurry up, get up, go get the camera.
Right.
And we Nicole and I looking at each other like. But the part that Nicole left out was this. Leading up to Christmas, we had discussions all through our dating process about gifts and celebrating birthdays and all this stuff. So we were talking, and I was like, well, Christmas coming up. I was like, I'm just get you some gloves.
Oh, snap, you right.
I know. So I was like, what you want for Christmas? I don't know. I was like, you know what? I'll get you some gloves.
Okay.
She was like, how you gonna tell me you gonna get me some gloves?
Right.
Oh, I completely
You know what I mean? I was like, no, I'm gonna get you some gloves. Because she always complained winter, you know, my hands cold. It's so cold. I'm gonna get you some nice leather gloves. Which is what I did. Now, she did say that she saw the ring, but I never let on any intent of proposing
On Christmas.
That was never a discussion we had in terms of when. She didn't know I had already called her father and spoken to him.
Okay.
Unless he told her. You know what I mean?
No.
So none of this.
He didn't tell me.
So
And
you weren't expecting it at all.
so she saw the ring, but she didn't know when I was going to give her the ring. You know, that kind of thing. So what I did, I've had the gloves and all this. I'm going to get you some gloves. So what I did was I took the ring and I put it in the ring finger of the glove.
Okay.
And I was like, so when she opened her box, she looked at it like, I don't know, because she saw the ring earlier, she was expecting a different gift. So she was like, you really got me some gloves. I said, try them on.
Right.
So she tried on the right hand first. It fit. I was like, try the next one. So when she put her finger in the ring, she was like, something's in there. And then the ring fell out. That's when the excitement.
Aunt Bev.
Get on your knee. Get on your knee. Kanika, go get the camera. Go get the camera.
I love it.
Sister slips and falls. But this is the crazy thing. Nobody went to check on this child.
We was just, girl, get up.
She, around the corner, out of sight, groaning in pain.
Right.
But nobody even said, well, hold on, let's check, make sure she's okay. Hurry up.
Hurry up.
You an athlete, you be all right.
But she wasn't an athlete yet.
She ain't been athletic.
No, Kanika would have been like, at that point in time,
Oh, yeah, she was a teenager, right?
yeah, Kanika would have been like
Oh, I thought she'd been athletic since the
11.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, she was mad young.
She was young.
Oh, poor baby.
Wait, no.
She's 9 years behind us.
So she would have been like, no, she right. She would have been like 14, 15.
Okay.
Yeah.
Still.
Okay. I know.
Did nobody check on the child?
Right.
I love that. I don't think I ever heard that story.
That was the funniest.
Wow,
I was like,
that
this is
was. Oh,
so
my
us.
goodness.
That is so awesome.
I was like, this is us.
Clearly.
This is what happened.
Right. So on your wedding day, I want you to talk about your emotions and just, how were you feeling that day?
I was happy. I was excited, and I was curious
Okay.
about what's to come. But mostly, I was happy and excited.
Yeah.
On the day.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess I could say the same. I don't know. I'm a little more not logistical, but you know, I'm like Nicole said. I try to be even keeled. So the wedding wasn't really a big thing for me.
Okay.
You know, weird as it sounds, it really wasn't. I almost the wedding anniversary, the wedding rehearsal, I was late to.
Why?
I went to play basketball.
Nick, did you know that?
Yes. His best man. Who was mad at you? I was.
It wasn't the best man.
Everybody was looking for Quasi.
Right.
And I said, he's playing basketball.
So now everybody looking at her crazy, like,
right. And I'm like, I'm
you
not the
okay
one to
with
look
this?
at Crazy. Go find him and look at Crazy.
Right. And would you say that's more so because the wedding in and of itself isn't something that you're more so focused on her and the marriage and not more so the celebration?
that's a nice way to dress it up.
It is
yeah,
nice.
Okay.
we could
Nice
say
way to
that.
dress it up.
But here's the reason why I went to play basketball. I am relatively private. I'm a relatively stick to myself type of person. So leading up to the wedding, I was living in an apartment by myself. Of course, Nicole would visit frequently and whatever. But I was living by myself. Well, for the wedding, Nicole's family had flew into town.
You were right first time.
Hey, this ain't an English test.
I was just letting you know you were right.
So, you know, and basically my apartment, because I was by myself, my apartment became wedding planning central.
And he did not like that.
So it's not that I didn't like it, but my main thing was when I got off work, I like to have a little time to myself to come.
Decompress.
Yeah, to decompress. But I didn't have that, you know? So, like, I left them with access to the apartment. They were putting together all the programs in the... So, like, as soon as I hit the door, it'll be programs, it'll be... And her family's high energy. Oh, hey, Quace! Oh my God! I'm so glad you're here! And, you know, and I'm like, hey, yo, I just need... But I don't want to be rude either, so I'm like, I just need a moment.
Right.
But this was an entire week, I would say.
You know, I don't remember.
Right. Well, however long they were there, of no decompression time.
Right.
So I knew that Friday before the wedding, they all excited. Everybody was at the church by like 4. So I was like, I'm getting off at like 2:30. Bet. Everybody left. I was like, I got off. I probably worked the full day, so I probably got off at 4. The rehearsal started like 7. There was a court like 5 minutes up the street. I didn't go to play. I literally just took my ball to go up there and shoot so I can have some. This is
decompression.
I just need some. I have at least a week's worth of. I just need to relax, do something I want to do. So I'm up there and I'm just shooting around for a minute, you know. And while I'm shooting around, somebody probably said something crazy. So then I started playing them. But you know what I mean? And like we finished playing like probably 2 games, and in the middle of the 3rd game, it was Hans. Pulls up to the court. Like, yo, what are you doing? I'm like, what? The game almost finished. He's like, you know what time it is? It's like, no. It's like, it's 6:45. I'm supposed to be at the church 6:30.
Silly rabbit.
I won the games.
Tricks up a kid.
You know? So, finish the game, rush home, shower, get ready.
I was gonna say, did you just show up sweaty?
Oh, no. I got tact
So
in that regard.
So, Nick, how were you feeling? Were you just like,
girl,
what's his problem?
Yes, because I think. Well, no, this isn't my first time knowing that Quasey's a private person, but this is a big event. So I'm thinking, like, dude, like, get it together for this time. Yeah, but at the same time, I wasn't surprised. Everybody else was surprised, but I wasn't. I was like, no, how's he over there?
Go get the court. Go pick him up.
Don't check on him. He over there.
Well, as long as you were, secure in.
I mean, I was there for the wedding.
Oh yeah, like
early.
I wasn't afraid of him having cold feet,
Right,
as they say,
right.
or
Dipping
second
out.
thoughts,
Right.
or-
Nah, it wasn't that.
So you were secure and
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but the wedding day though.
So I was early for the wedding. It was, didn't have any games to go to or play or anything. I was good for the wedding, So for me, it was more like, it's just, all right, this is part, literally my mindset was, this is part of the process. This is like, it starts now, you know what I mean? So all of this folding programs and sticking this and this and registering here and doing all this and all this, this is what that's about. And I wasn't I wasn't even caught up in that, to be honest with you.
Right.
But I understood that, okay, after today, this is when marriage starts. And you hear so many times where people talk about like, okay, the wedding is only one day and the marriage is for a lifetime. But you would see, like, you would hear people say that, but you never have to, until you get married, you never have to actuate that. You never have to put that into your life, But you hear all these people having $1 million, all these celebrities that have $1 million wedding and they'll be divorced in 3 weeks. So how they'll be married for X amount of years and then be out of nowhere they're divorced, and now everybody's like, what was going on?
Right.
All of a sudden, y'all look happy.
Yeah.
And I've always said, like, even if not even on the celebrity side, but there are people who have been together for large chunks of their life. And it's just, I don't know if they just stop working at it. If they get, like, I don't play basketball half as often, nowhere near as frequently as I was when I was engaged.
True.
And I definitely don't play nowhere near as much as when I was married. When I was in college, I would play
Wait, you
basketball.
said when you were as much as...
Since
Oh,
we've
now
been
you
married,
switch.
yeah.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because when I was in college, we play basketball. I would play basketball 2 times a day easily, every day during the summer. When we got engaged, I had to dial that back. You know, because I'm not just making my own decisions anymore. It's like, how does that? She might want to go out one afternoon, so I might play once that day. I might just go play in the morning, or I mightn't play at all. When I got married, it goes from being a daily thing to now it's, and I think oftentimes you hear people say, well, you know, start off the way you could finish or whatever, and you're like, this is who I was before when you met me. So, well, if you never change, how you expect your marriage to last? Your wedding gonna be boss, you know. Got the destination weddings and the honeymoon in Hawaii and all the nice pictures, but your wedding is a wreck.
Right.
So
Your marriage.
your marriage is a wreck, you know.
So for you would have been all right with, we can go to the courthouse.
Yeah,
and
actually, yeah.
pretty much. Yeah.
And if somebody had told me how cheap that was, bet it.
Hey!
I feel you. So did you guys have a honeymoon?
Yeah, we went to
South Beach, Miami?
Yeah.
South Beach, Miami.
Why is that so funny?
So we
I remember a funny instance. I'm not sure if this is the same one he's laughing at.
so we did have a honeymoon. It was weird because our honeymoon was like, it was a honeymoon, but you know, it's not one of them dreamy,
Right.
you know, because again, that's not who. It definitely isn't who I am. So, you know, but we did have a honeymoon. Yeah.
Okay.
We did have fun.
Okay.
Laughed at a couple people.
Well, what I remember
I'm good
is
at
eating at this Mexican restaurant,
This was coming.
and this man was employed there to
He
walk
was
around.
not employed there, yo. Go ahead.
Well, what you?
You tell the story. Go
Oh,
ahead,
I
you
thought
got
he
it.
worked for the restaurant or the
Yeah, I
restaurant.
know
He had a
that's what
gig.
you
He had a
thought
contract with the restaurant to walk around and serenade the customers with his guitar. So he was walking around serenading because I've never been serenaded before. I've seen it on TV and stuff. So this man walking around, whatever the charge was. So he asks if we wanted it, and I was like, yeah, babe, let's do it. He's like, Quace was like, okay, yes. So the man starts playing, strumming, singing his heart out.
The man is singing
his
in
heart
Spanish.
out. Okay, fine. First time experience. And whatever the fee was for the serenade, I said, babe, you got all the money? You got the money for the cash for this? And he's like, no, I only have like half. I was like, well, we need to stop this man from singing so he can only sing like however,
Sing
what's
half
worth,
with the song?
however much money we have. Because the man was singing his heart out. I was like, babe, you better stop. See, I'm the one. He's even kill. I'm like panicking. I was like, stop him, babe. So he about to sing this whole song. And Quay's like, nah, he all right. He'll be good.
He'd be all right.
So the man finished. Quay's was like, oh man, I only have such and such. And I'm just nervous. And the man's like, he's okay. But in my mind, I'm thinking, yo, we just robbed this dude.
Oh, I feel you. I would have felt the same.
Right.
Listen, again, it wasn't an outdoor restaurant, but it was open air. You know, so we out there, it's Miami. You know, so the guys, it's a hustle. So the guy going around and $5 song. So I was like, I ain't paying $5 to hear a song. As a matter of fact, I just heard you sing the song.
Terrible. Well,
So
we
that's,
enjoyed ourselves.
you know.
Yeah. We had a nice honeymoon. It was cool.
Nick was panicked. Nick was, she was so done. She was. After that, as a matter of fact, when we finished, after he finished singing the song and he left, Nick was like, we gotta go. It's like, for what? You know, so we finished eating and we just walked. She was like, I can't believe you just did that. But, you know, what's the worst could have happened? He couldn't unsing the song. He's going to take the words back.
It is funny to think about. So, in your first few months to maybe first year or two of marriage, what was life like with each other? She got her notes.
Gotta check her notes.
I couldn't really remember well. I just remember I was a teacher. I had been teaching for 2 years.
Lord.
So I was learning the ropes of that, teaching in an urban setting, high school students, being young myself, only 26.
Looking like a student.
Right. And you were an RD,
Yeah.
resident director on the campus of a university. So that's all I remember. That's all I had.
What about you? So what I remember, first couple months into the first year or so. Well, expectations leading up to marriage and expectations or reality of marriage. I realized that it was different.
Okay, respect. I remember that too.
Respect.
Yeah. I'm sure as you speak, memories come back to me.
Like, one of the things that I remember distinctly was, like Nicole said, we got married over the summer. So, that summertime, she wasn't working as much. But then the school year started back. And it was like we went from being married to being roommates for me. Because it was like everywhere I looked, Nicole had her face. Like, it was... It felt like it just became all about work because, like she said, Nicole is very meticulous. She got notes for this,
Just to remember.
and we just hanging out. But she's very meticulous. So I gotta have my lesson plan finished. Like, I get all these things graded, and I gotta. And I'm looking like, all right. And then when I'm tired. And then she go to bed. And she wake up in the morning and she had to hustle and get ready for work. And she's off to work because I don't want to reach the work late because I'm going to get on, what is it, incident or occurrence or one of them, whatever little things, because you can't be late more than this. I don't want to have to sign the late book. And,
The late book.
Right, the late book. And they're going to have the late book out. And I'm like, all right. Meantime, we lived on the property that I was the director for, so I'll see you when you get home.
Right.
I'm just walking across, walking
to your job.
Yeah, I'm walking them, So so that for me became, for us, in my opinion, became one of the I won't call it a struggle, but it was definitely an adjustment. Like, hey, yo, what is this?
Yeah.
Because like on the honeymoon, we wake up whenever, go to sleep whenever, we go to eat whenever.
The focus is really just
it's
two
us,
of you.
We come back from the honeymoon, and although I'm back at work, I work where I live.
Right.
So like there'll be times I might have to go check on something in one of the buildings, and I'll dip in, and she's at home. It's like noon, so she probably just been up doing nothing. I just pop in the apartment like, hey, how you doing? Everything good? I'll go back to work. Lunch break. I never really don't really eat lunch, so pop in, we hang out for an hour.
Yeah.
Or 45 minutes. Go back to work. To now, it's like, okay, from 7 to 4. We don't see each other at all. Then when she comes home, it was like from 4 to 8, planning and grading and all this stuff. And then maybe 8 to 10, we get to hang out.
Right.
And now she going to bed to do it all over. I was like, this ain't what nobody said this was marriage was like.
Right. And that was while you were teaching. That was when you were teaching.
Yes.
Because you said up until now she's not teaching right now, so it's a little different.
He meant
for that period.
time.
Yeah.
Okay, got you.
For those first year, maybe 2 years. Yeah.
So.
Plus, you were in school too.
Yeah.
Getting your master's. No.
I had already gotten my master's.
You were doing something in school.
I was coaching.
Okay, that,
So
yeah.
that was
Okay.
extra time too after school hours.
Okay. Yeah, that's tough. Like you said, that's not the picture of marriage that you had in mind, and
Exactly.
the
It's definitely not
expectations
the picture that is put in your mind.
at all, at all. So, and then you guys were young, starting out with your new job, and you had your job at the time, and
Which was also new. I started working there
Okay.
at literally August of 2004.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
you know,
It's different getting married young when you're getting into your careers and trying to make sure that you're on point on your jobs, and but also I don't want to leave my marriage hanging either, you know.
Yep.
So I can imagine that's a tough balance. So throughout your marriage, just over the years, I know you guys are going to eventually get to your most current breakthrough that you've had, but were there any other breakthroughs that led up to this one, to the most current one, that you can think of?
you got your notes.
Yeah, but I didn't
I
have.
don't want to violate your notes.
Well, in my mind, I think hitting different milestones of learning to better communicate with each other, but that came along with learning ourselves and being able to communicate that to each other. This is what I need. This is what I don't like. This is what I do like. So incrementally getting better at that, bit by bit, through tough situations, sometimes here and there. For example, something very practical. We were on a fast with the church, and we have fasted a lot with the church, different times. I am remembering a couple of different times. One was when there was a period of the fast where we were only supposed to eat once a day, 1 meal a day. For me, you know, and I was straight meat eater, no holds barred. At that point, now I'm pescatarian-ish, if you ask my sons and my husband.
Ish.
Anyway, but then there was no record of that, and this was a 1 meal a day thing. Kwesi was preparing food, and he puts my plate on the table, and it's like a whole heap of rice and lentils. And that's it.
This is my one meal for the day, rice and lentils.
I was like, yo, where the meat at?
With that energy.
This is very serious. We can only eat once right now today. Like, after this time, we can't eat again until tomorrow.
With that energy, though.
I gotta go to school with these kids and be hungry and mad at the same time, and we eating rice and peas?
But what she's not saying is, so she's saying it with that energy, but at no point she said thank you. So now, in my head, I'm like, you ungrateful, inconsiderate.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
in my head, I was, like, I can't tell you how many times, and we've had this conversation, how many times I played in my head, I'm going to just take this plate, throw it in the trash, I'm going to go to sleep.
But where he comes from, that can be a whole meal. Big
Exactly.
on rice, big on peas.
Yep.
Big on rice, big on peas. Where I come from, we always had meat. This was the side dish.
All right.
Like your husband said, I love me some sauces and sides. This was the side.
This is the size.
Where the meat at? I'm struggling here. So
Right.
even
What?
understanding background, understanding
huge.
past,
Was
understanding
huge.
histories. Now I understand, when you understand where somebody comes from, that helps you a little bit to understand why they are the way they are,
That's
why
right.
they do the way they
That's
do
right.
things the way they do.
Man, listen.
Because I know birthdays was another thing. Because in our American culture, we celebrate birthdays, but apparently,
Again, but that's not even
I don't
a
even think it's a
cultural
cultural
thing.
thing.
Oh, it's not a
cultural
it's
thing. It's just a
his
me thing.
Experience
It's a me thing.
Yeah.
You know?
okay,
thing. Yeah.
So,
okay,
so even with that incident, I could remember one incident. This was before we got married. Nicole was, oh, baby, we're fasting and we're eating once every other day. I want to eat with you. And I was like,
Because I was all infatuated.
and I was like, I don't know if you necessarily. I was like, look, eat when you can.
I was like, no, I want to do it with you.
So one day, you know, I think I was still a senior in college, so I was like, I'm not eating today. So she was like, what? What do you mean you're not eating today? That means, but we can't eat tomorrow. So that means I'm not gonna eat again until like 2 days from now. Like including today and yesterday. That's yesterday, today, tomorrow. That's 3 days of no eating. And I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I'm not hungry. But you have to be. You know? Because I am. And I'm like,
And we're doing it together.
and we're supposed to eat together. And I'm like, no. I told you from the start.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So and again, so like Nicole says, culturally and just understanding the people you're with. You know what I mean? I think again, leading back to marriage and keeping everything in terms of making sure your marriage lasts. Understanding who that person's foundation is or what that person's foundation is helps your marriage, because marriage should be about adjustments.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't just be one person. If one person has to make all the adjustments, eventually that person is going to adjust their way out.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So that I think that's big.
That's good.
I would definitely say for us, any tough spots, any breakthroughs, all the breakthroughs we've had surrounded communication. All of it. You know, I think that's really important to understand communication in the marriage.
Absolutely.
You know.
So, speaking of breakthroughs, talk about your most current breakthrough.
So I'm interested to hear how you talk about it first before I say something.
But first, I need to figure out what is the most current breakthrough. You ain't gonna set me up
Well,
on the internet.
what do you think?
No, I'm just playing. I think for us, the most current breakthrough, again, it still surrounds communication. But oftentimes when you hear people talk about communication, they feel it's talking. Like you've seen those YouTube and TikTok videos where people, or these little reels and stuff where people talk about how you, when husband and wife are angry with each other but they still love each other, so the man would like, you want something to eat? And like would come and would give her the food, but it'll be real aggressive, and she'd be like, you got something on your face, and wipe her face extra hard, and he would like slam the fridge door when, you know what I mean? And a lot of times we think communication means just the talking or the interacting. Communication could be so much more than that. It's not just about text. It's not more just talking. So for me, I'm learning, for our major breakthrough, you never realize how much communication impacts everything. You know, impacts sex, it impacts work, it impacts just your family life, your relationship with other people, how you communicate to other, how you interact with other people. You know, so for me, that's what I would say was our biggest breakthrough. And I would have to say that's the one breakthrough we've had. Like, we've had one, in my opinion, we've had one breakthrough in our marriage.
Okay.
And it took 17 years. Well, 16 years of avoiding it, ignoring it, and eventually working on it. When it got to the point where it's like, if we don't get this fixed now, ain't no telling what's going to happen. You know, so I would say we only had one.
Okay.
Which was
Communication. See, we still working on it.
No, I just want to make sure I understand what you're saying.
Respect.
Yeah. So to provide a little bit more context to provide a little bit more particular explanation around what you're talking about.
I don't think nobody need no explanation from me.
Well, I'm just saying this is where I'm
subtitles?
talking about. This is my piece.
All right, give your answer. Don't try to clean my answer. Give your answer.
Well, my piece to add on to what Kwesi has said is
Dear diary.
one morning we had this breakthrough that he's talking about. I call it a breakthrough conversation in the car on the way
You gonna
to.
get hit with copyright.
No, I'm like pumping up. This is what we're here for. Like this is called breakthrough
respect.
conversations.
All right.
So we had a breakthrough conversation in the
Patent
car
pending.
around this, and
You should.
we had been in a space where we were obviously living in the same home, raising our children together, but being distant, still cordial, mostly, but distant and not talking much. Definitely, everything was very surfacey. That tears me up inside. And so,
Before you continue,
yeah.
let me say this. Probably year 5. If we could go back in time and tell Nicole of year 5 that we were going to be disagreeing and still be cordial, she would call that a breakthrough. Because that's what I'm talking about in terms of avoidance or ignoring. I can go days without talking. And it didn't matter. It didn't matter to who, Nicole included. I'm pretty much, I'm private by choice. So I think if you were to talk about it and that's why I'm talking about like the incrementals of it, like it's still all led to all circulated around communication. But there was one point in time, if we didn't agree with something, I'd just not talk.
Yeah.
She'd get over it. Or I'd get over it.
Is that healthy or unhealthy?
I don't know.
Even now, you're not sure?
Well, then I didn't know, you know. And again, it's obviously the obvious answer is unhealthy, right? That's kind of the obvious answer. But when it's what you know, it's what you know. So you're not thinking about it like, I wasn't thinking about it like, this is unhealthy, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Right.
You know, like sometimes
It's just
people,
how you operate.
it's
Your
what I
mode of
do.
operation.
You know, it's like people will say like, I know eating too much candy is bad for me, but I can't help candy. It's not that.
Right.
It's legitimately, like I heard, it's weird, like I heard they talk about like babies that are born addicted to crack and born addicted to drugs or born alcoholic because their mother was on drugs while pregnant, so they were getting drugs
Yeah.
without even knowing about it.
Yeah.
So that child has no idea why that child acts that way
Yeah.
and can't help it. You know what I mean? But shows all the symptoms and all the signs of an alcoholic or a drug user or and never touched drugs or alcohol a day in their life. To me, that's kind of how it was. I didn't know it wasn't healthy. And honestly didn't care to go find out. It's what I do. This is how I avoided or this is how I dealt with conflict, pain, because the other side of it is explosive. So I had one or two things I would do. I can either explode on it or I could swallow it up. Never knew there was a third or a better option. So
Yeah.
I just worked with what I knew. Don't want to explode on it because that's going to impact the marriage. What's the other option then?
And the other option was still impacting the marriage. But in your mind, that was the
It was
way
the
to go.
it was the better
It
way
was the
to
better
go.
way.
Yes, and to me, as he said, the way that's the way that it was for him, and it didn't matter who you were. But I had an issue with that this time, this most recent time, because to me, after God, I'm number one. You know, so I'm number two, and
No, you're number one.
well, so after God, I'm number one.
Right.
And
Because
if
you
you're
and
going
God ain't
to-
going to compare anyway. So
You're right. You're right. So if you're gonna close yourself off to me, then to me that says you are choosing you so much that I just gotta do my best to stand that, and that wasn't doing well for me. I was not going to accept that, and us being in a place where we have potentially been transitioning into a greater role of leadership in our lives. To me, I was like, you can't go into this position with this mode of operandi. Mode of operation, because I don't know if operandi, but mode of operation, you just can't do that because your level of influence, our level of influence, is going to affect so many people. So in my mind, I was like, we need to get this right now.
and let me say this. let me push in right there, because a lot of times that's the other thing. A lot of times when you don't understand, or when you don't take the time to understand the other person in the marriage, you don't understand how you moving triggers the other person, even pushes that other person deeper down the rabbit hole that you're trying to get them to climb out of.
Yeah.
So for example, at one point in my life, if you try to make me do anything, I'm gonna push back so much harder to show you that you can't make me do anything. You want me to talk, and you think that consistently talking to me will get me to respond, I'm gonna push back and show you. I don't care what you say. I don't have to talk to you. You know?
Yep.
So again, it all leads back to communicating. Like when you try to make someone in marriage or in any relationship, but specifically in marriage, when you try to make someone into something just because it's for you, like it fits you, what you're really doing is you're manipulating that person. You're trying to manipulate that person into becoming something, even if you don't think you're manipulating. And I think that's where a lot of us get in trouble in marriages. We don't want to learn what the other person, or we don't want to put ourselves in that other person's skin. We want to make that other person into something that keeps us comfortable in our skin,
Very true. Yep.
or the skin that we were told. We're trying to make that person into something that we were told marriage is supposed to look like. So Christians abstain from sex, but when you get married, you can have it. It's a smorgasbord. Everything that you denied yourself until you got married, it's now a free for all.
Yep.
So now you try to make your husband or make your wife into that picture that society painted, the church painted of marriage, of sex and marriage.
Very true.
Or you're trying to make husbands trying to make their wives into this sex-driven, not lustful, but sex-driven individual, because you sex-driven. Wives trying to make their husband into this ultimate communicator, because that's what you want. You want your husband to be your bestie. And the husband might be a really recluse person. And you knew that going into the marriage, but you figured, oh, when we get married, that's going to change.
Right.
Sometimes we allow ourselves to get pigeonholed like that because we paint the picture to the person in the engaged stage. We paint that picture of, boy, I'm going to put it on you when we get married. You could tell me anything. We could talk for hours when we get married. You know, boy, you fool, you know you don't like talking that much. You know you need at least an hour and a half after you come home from work just to yourself to sit in silence to decompress. Don't tell her about you. Oh, we can talk about whatever you want. Who sing that song? I'll paint your car. What was that stupid song?
Babyface. I'll pay your rent.
Yeah.
Oh.
Cook your
Yeah, shut
dinner
up.
too.
You ain't gonna do. You can't
Soon
paint.
as he get home.
Right,
from
and you
work.
coming straight home from work in an apron. Shut up. You lying. You lying.
But
you know?
we believe that. Like we think.
Yeah, we paint
latch
that
onto
picture.
that, yeah.
And then when that person doesn't fit that, even if that person told us, like we so blinded or we want that so much, we allow that person to lie to us about that. When we should say, now you know good and well. When you come home from work, you don't want to paint, you don't want to cook. Matter of fact, you don't even come home from work and want to eat. So don't tell me you're going to do this. You don't like this, that, and the third, so don't tell me you're going to do. No, you're lying. You telling me things that I want to hear because you think it makes me feel good.
Right.
It's not the truth. So what happens is with us in our marriage, when those things were starting to be pushed, that picture that you painted started being pushed back on you. Now you're like, I don't like that. And instead of coming out and saying you don't like that because you're scared somebody's feelings might get hurt, now all of a sudden you push yourself further down the rabbit hole that they're trying to pull you out of because you told them that you would never go down that hole, but you're in there.
Right.
So again, all about communication.
Anything to add?
Well, so at one point in all of this, I just started being more intentional about praying and praying about the situation. Because just after all of what Kwesi said, you cannot make somebody else. If you try, it's going to get dangerous and it's going to be manipulative. So at this point, I just started praying. But again, the inner turmoil that I was feeling it was still there. And I just tried to start doing my best about being more intentional about taking that to God versus talking to him about it so much. But I'm still a communicator, a verbal communicator. So I try to decipher between what to say and what not to say to him. And this morning when we were going to work, we had dropped the boys off at school and I was going to drop him off at work. And I just asked him, was he okay with this space that we were in?
Because of the distance that was
Yeah,
there
because of the distance. And I was honest with him and I told him that I didn't want to be in the same house as him because it was so bothersome to me that we're in the same house, we're raising our kids together, but we are very surfacey, and the elephant is in every room, and we just can't seem to get past
Whole herd of elephants, just effluence all over the place.
So and I said I'm not saying I want to leave the marriage. I just don't want to be in the same house as you because I get mad. And but what would always stop that idea is, well, what I'm gonna tell the boys? Mom's out the house for a week. Where's she at? Why she not at the house? So at the end of that car ride, before Kwesi got out to go inside of the building, he just basically was like, all right. And there was so much more that I said there. But he said, so what do you want me to do with that? Like, what do you think I should do with that? And a lot of what I was trying to convey to him is, I think you need some help with unsurfacing, like kind of digging and just getting, working on these things. And so I was talking about therapy, him going to therapy, and that he was very against it for a while. But in that car, when he asked me that question, I was like, well, I think if it were me, or I think what you should say is, because he asked me, and I said, I think what you should say is, all right, babe, if that's what you think we need to do, then I'll try it. And he said, okay, well, then let's do that. So for me in that moment, I just felt like, okay, the big picture, or the bottom line here is, what I'm hearing is, all right, babe, I care enough about you. I love you. I care about our marriage, and I'm willing to try this so that we can get away from this spot, you know? And to me, that said, it targeted my heart in a way where now I felt like, okay, he is willing to work on not shutting even me out, you know? Okay, yeah, shutting other people out, working on that, but me.
Yeah.
Now in my mind, I was thinking, okay, he gets it, and he wants to work on letting me into the space that I should have access to. Definitely, I can't do what God can do to his heart, but as his wife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that's what I was talking about, where we talk about, like, people don't realize the importance of, yes, stay true to yourself, but realize when yourself needs to be fixed, needs to change, you know?
Yes.
Because a lot of times again, you hear people say all these things, but not everything that you were taught was right. And even if it was right for you as a single individual, sure enough don't make a marriage work. You know, the other piece that Nicole may not, the other piece to that whole conversation was the fact of understanding where you are. Because for me, we had, again, for years, this was the recurring theme. Even though it wasn't like going to therapy, or even, it was always a matter of when something gets tight, communication got cut off. And I could distinctly remember, and I know she does too, we went to have dinner with her cousins. And they were like, what you mean you cut her off? If you married, because they're Christians, if you married and the Bible says two are becoming one, you're saying you cut you off. I was like, okay, I guess so. Because again, when you don't realize how deep down a rabbit hole you can go, regardless to who is trying to pull you out. Rabbit holes have two ways. You can come out the rabbit hole, or you can just keep going deeper. Right? So I was like, yeah, I'm cool with that. Because in me, I've had to realize where I've internalized things. I've become so good at internalizing things as opposed to exploding on things. That you don't even realize that sometimes I'm internalizing things to protect you from the explosion. You know? So, but that don't make it right. It don't. But we in marriages, and we are there, and we think we're protecting the person. We got to realize even internalizing could hurt. You know? So that's why I was talking about knowing when to change and knowing how to change without, not that you're not trying to be changed, but just recognizing that it's not like a fake change. It's literally a change for the better, because if you're not changing for the better, then you're actually getting worse.
Yeah.
Regardless to if you stay the same or not. You've gotten worse,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know?
I think often about my marriage, and I'm like, we're not the same people we were in year one.
But you shouldn't be.
You shouldn't be,
Right.
right? And
If
even,
you're the same person you are like 17 years later,
yeah,
think about if you went to school
Right.
and 17 years later you're still you're supposed to be a senior in high school
Yeah.
and you're still reading at a kindergarten level.
Yeah.
You'd be
Yeah.
on Project Baltimore.
right.
The whole school system be on Project Baltimore.
Yeah.
Somebody should be reporting about how deficient you are.
Right.
So why wouldn't we
Yeah.
want to change?
Yeah.
Because we gotta keep it real.
Yeah.
Think about how hard people work to get out of a negative environment. You're broke. You on government assistance. All you seeing is boarded up houses. You grew up in an area with boarded up houses, and now you got some money. But you want to live like you still live then because you got to keep it real. Most people look at you like you're a fool. So why in marriage we think we can't do that? Why we have to be the same person? You know?
You know, I think I learned from PL and PK the phrase "marriage is an eye opener" or something to that effect.
Love is blind, but marriage is an eye opener.
There you go, and that's so true because
I thought you was getting ready to sing that Eve song.
oh my
My
gosh,
bad.
it's so true because you know, oftentimes marriage shows us us.
Yes.
As much as we may want to block it out or internalize, you know, when we really realize that this is no longer about just me because I'm no longer single. Like, this is about the both of us now. And when you realize that when you begin to change, it's going to have such a positive effect on your spouse and in your marriage, why not?
Yeah.
Now, the change isn't going to always feel good, which is why I believe that we're slow to change at times, or it takes us, or at times we just don't want to, or we don't, right?
But even with that, listen. So think about what you thought of the first time you heard that statement. Love is blind, but marriage is an eye opener. What was the first thing you thought about?
Marriage is bad.
No, not even. Well, okay, if that's what you thought about, sorry, but
Or like it's hard. It's not.
but for me,
It's a
the
wake-up
first
call.
because the first time I heard that love is blind, marriage is an eye opener. A lot of the times, what I thought about was it opens your eyes to the faults of the other person.
Oh, interesting. Interesting.
Because you never think you need your eyes open to yourself.
True.
I don't see nothing wrong with me.
That's true.
Yeah.
I don't see nothing wrong with me.
That's true.
Love is blind, but marriage is an eye opener. So when he come home, he gonna just drop his dirty shoes right by the door. I gotta be ready for that. Or she gonna just leave her dirty clothes in the bathroom. Oh, I gotta be ready for that. Or she don't cook the way my mama cook. Oh, I gotta be ready. It's an eye opener. It opens my eyes to all the shortcomings of my spouse. If we really honest, that's what we think about. We never think love is blind, but marriage is an eye opener. It's gonna open my eyes to, oh shoot, I don't like to change. Love is blind, but marriage is an eye opener. Oh shoot, I'm really selfish. Like, we don't think about how it opens our eyes to us.
And in addition to that, I think we need to be, and I spoke a little bit about this on the episode I did with Nadia.
Plug.
We have to know that it's not two perfect people coming together to be married, because I think sometimes we've received teachings that speak to you gotta be before you get married, when that's not the reality. Now, Absolutely.
And the people that teach us that never was.
Now, absolutely have a foundation of God, make sure that y'all both saved, you're equally yoked, and all like those foundational things need to be there. But to say that you have to have this checklist when the reality is it's still two imperfect people coming together. And if iron sharpens iron, when you come together, you should be able to sharpen each other and say, you know what, babe, I see that in you and that needs some work.
And perfection is never the goal either.
Never the goal.
Coming in imperfect, remaining imperfect until the day we leave this earth, but still growing.
Working to get better.
And because marriage is a godly institution, and he instituted it, it's very important that marriage is founded upon him. And marriage, the decision for marriage is centered around him.
Yep.
And even then, right? Even then,
the struggle continues.
And the work is there for the couple to, all of the things that you all said, but really reflect God in the earth, right?
Right.
And we also have to keep that on the forefront of our mind as well, because we can't just stop at the tier where me appeasing my spouse and my spouse appeasing me, but the reason for our marriage was God, and the reason that we're still married is God, and the focal point of our marriage is God, because he has a plan for us to execute.
You better preach
here. See, so it's always bigger.
It's always bigger, and that's good, because as much as, we love each other, as spouses, and, we're working on things together and building each other up and all those things, it's bigger in the sense of how does your marriage bless other people? How does your marriage pour into your family? How does your marriage pour into your coworkers, your friends? I think that when we just keep the focus of, what this marriage isn't just about us.
Yep.
That also helps with what do I need to do to better me.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
I want to also ask, before your breakthrough, how were your children affected, if at all? Well, that was part 1 of episode 30, titled The Importance of Communication in Marriage, featuring Kwesi and Nicole Payne. And I want you to be sure to tune in next Thursday, October 12th at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to see part 2. I hope that this episode has been a blessing to you. And I want you to like this episode. I want you to share it with others that they may be blessed. And also leave a comment to let us know anything that stood out from this episode today. If you haven't yet, go ahead and subscribe to the channel Breakthrough Conversations. Until next time, enjoy your day and be blessed.